We're live at the Bay Area Media Pulse for a Sunday. I'm Rich Lieberman, and we have some news, according to some sources that have contacted me. Finally, Nexstar has hired a new general manager for its Bay Area station, KRON. So there is a new GM, and the GM is scheduled to begin on Monday. Now, who is the new GM? I have no idea. I do know a lot of things. There's lots of inner, shall we say, mild but very pronounced turmoil at KRON. They've been without a GM for, God, more than 6 months. And you might joke aside, well, it's KRON. How much direction could they, lack or even if they had a GM? Well, that could be a joke. It's more of an internal joke than it would be an external joke. All I know is that people tell me that the ratings are really, really bad, that there's a feeling of no direction there at KRON. When has there been direction? I'm not yelling or criticizing the various people who've told me, that they absolutely need some leadership and somebody to take control. But even when they've had people that are in control, there's no fluidity, there's no movement. I'm also hearing that this current news director, Josh Palevsky, that he has Aaron Pirro DNA. So they haven't been entirely happy with him, they being the rank and file, the workforce. I want to make a series of points. I still cannot believe how malfunctioned, how totally out of the loop KRON is. I say to myself, where do they get these people? Where do they find these reporters? How can they put on such malcontents? And that's an across the board ripping. It's not one particular person. And I know they don't have any money, which is the cry lately of all these outlets. We don't have any money. We don't have any money. But then you get what you pay for. It's as simple as anything else. You buy it, you get a cheap plumber, then you're going to get cheap results. You don't get a very good lawyer, you get a cheap lawyer, then you're going to get typical results. You get what you pay for. I cannot believe. And I watch KRON, and shame on me, actually applauded them a few times in their present tense. And yet, the good people who usually depart KRON are those who are probably using KRON so they can get a job elsewhere, a real job. The morning, they still have Daria, and Daria long ago should have been gotten rid of. Midday, who knows, who cares? The evening is a mishmash. Grant Lotus, nice guy. You're not a lead newscaster. Vicky Liviakis seems to have a comfort zone where she's become rather ordinary, and I like Vicky Liviakis. Have met her several times, not lately. She's not ready for prime time yet. She doesn't have a strong co-anchor. And then the rest of the people there are just plain bodies. There is no passion. There is no oomph. There is no it factor person. All the reporters seem to be just ordinary Joes and Janes. They have 19,000 weather people. They do weather reports up the yin yang, noon, morning, evening, even when there's no weather. Folks, a good, solid news director, a good general manager. Those are hard to come by these days, but especially at a mediocre performing outlet like KRON. Now, KRON, and this is where good management could be applicable. KRON could be a very, very valuable asset locally. Let's face it, the CW has been a disaster. There's shows nobody watches. So, as a news outlet, KRON does have a niche. Although it's benign and very ordinary, you could do news 24/7. A combination thereof. Morning, midday, evening. Just run a loop and do something like a New York one in the Bay Area, which they tried years ago. Did KRON? They had a lot more money, and that was Bay TV. But even then, they didn't utilize Bay TV as much as they could have. Now, look, I'm being repetitive now. When you don't have a general manager for almost 7 months, and when you put people in a position where they don't know what the hell is going on, who is running the show, and when the worst thing, when they perceive that those ostensibly who they think are in charge, the assistants, whomever, and when they realize that nobody really has any power, then you freelance, and freelance in a bad way. That's when people don't have any kind of leadership. There's no accountability. So everybody kind of goes their own separate ways. Thus, and even in an environment like we have today, the numbers go down. They go down. There's no fluidity, as I've said earlier. There's no ebb and flow. Consequently, you get what has always been the case these many, many, many last few years, and that is out and out incompetency, no direction, no missive. It's just absolutely unpredictable, which is what's happening at KRON. I've said a gazillion times, how worse can it get? I mean, does anybody get that over at KRON? You could say the same thing at Channel 2, but at least they have protection and they have a strong lead in, and that's their Fox affiliation, where they have shows that carry some viewership habits, no matter how bad KTVU gets. Same thing over at ABC7, with Disney having some semblance of lead-ins with their own programming that it saves Channel 7. KRON has the conventional crap called the CW, and nobody is watching. And the ratings at KRON now are very bad. It's basically, it's a placemat station. There's a lot there, a placemat, but nothing on the placemat. There's no food there. It's lacking. KRON continues to suffer from its own heritage, from its own situational tactics. Nobody is there to, shall we say, rally the troops, to act instinctively or otherwise to show the way that you do when you have something massive like a television news operation. So, thus, you get what you see. Now, the fact that they do have a new general manager starting on Monday, well, that can't hurt. I don't know who this person is. Repeating myself, I don't know who it is. Supposedly, whoever it is has Bay Area roots. Good. They'll need it because this station is just so lacking. It's just so lacking. Look, I'm going to be around hopefully later in the day. If not, definitely see you on Monday. But the headline is the headline. there's a new general manager at KRON. Finally. And we'll have to wait and see who this individual is. But you're going to need a lot fence mending. You're going to need a lot of work to clean up that mess. If you can, please make a donation to my cause. My PayPal site. I will personally thank you for your contribution, and we will see you soon. Thank you.